High above the city, a cold confrontation unfolded. Inside a quiet conference room, a man and woman sat in heavy silence while staff watched from the shadows. The office buzzed with gossip. One staff member whispered about the mystery woman, only to learn she was Xiao Hai's girlfriend, here to end their relationship. Disbelief spread through the office. To break up with someone so publicly at their workplace? The woman was clearly ruthless and lacked any sense of mercy. Inside the room, the woman's voice was like ice. She told Xiao Hai that she could no longer stand being with a useless loser like him. Her eyes burned with pure disgust as she insulted his pathetic appearance. Xiao Hai could only stare back, completely stunned by her sudden cruelty. Then came the killing blow. She admitted she only stayed with him because she hoped his hidden cultivation potential would finally awaken. He had failed to enter a top-tier cultivation university, but she held out hope because he was the descendant of a fallen noble family. 3 months had passed with no progress. She screamed that his pathetic bloodline was dead, blaming him for wasting her beautiful, precious youth. She lamented the wealthy immortal heirs she could have dated instead. Xiao Hai felt himself shrinking under the weight of her venomous words. Defensively, he reminded her that he spent every last cent on spirit stones and rare energy jewels for her. This only fueled her burning rage. She laughed, calling his gifts worthless trash with pathetic spiritual energy. She boasted about a glowing earring gifted to her by the wealthy young Master Li. That single jewel was overflowing with divine power. It could banish evil, protect the wearer, and even preserve a woman's eternal beauty. Outside, a staff member's fury boiled over as she crushed her mouse. She screamed at the ex-girlfriend, unable to watch the poor man be humiliated further. Her colleague tried to restrain her, reminding her they still had to meet their monthly performance targets. Getting involved in personal drama was a risk. She urged her to stay out of it, but Xiao Hai finally spoke up. His voice was calm, drawing the angry woman's eyes back to him. He demanded she return everything he had ever bought her. At those words, the woman exploded, her entire body shaking with a murderous fury. She cursed him to remain a bottom-tier loser forever and wished him a slow, agonizing death before storming out of the conference room. Xiao. He didn't flinch. He shouted after her, suggesting she could simply mail the expensive items back if she was too embarrassed to return. She shrieked that she would rather drown his gifts in the river. Xiao. He jokingly asked which river, noting it would be a shame to waste them. The pink-haired staffer found his wit refreshing. However, her friend warned her to get back to work before the manager appeared like a ghost. Right on cue, a chilling presence felt behind them. It was Jiang Jian, the cold and demanding manager of the cultivation department. He demanded a status report on their monthly goals. Seeing Xiao, he slumped over. The staff explained he had just been brutally dumped. They claimed he just needed a moment to recover. Jiang Jian remained silent. Later that day, Xiao Hai sat alone on the windy rooftop edge. A shadow fell over him as Jiang Jian approached, surprisingly asking if he had eaten. He noticed Xiao Hai's dark, brooding mood. To Xiao Hai's shock, the usually strict manager offered him a drink. It was strange for the old man to act so kind out of nowhere. Xiao Hai downed the drink and immediately felt the alcohol hit. He stood up, screaming to the heavens about his cheating, gold-digging ex-girlfriend. He felt a surge of relief after his outburst. He never expected the cold-hearted manager to actually care about his subordinate's emotional well-being. Suddenly, the world began to spin. Xiao Hai realized the soda was drugged. He glanced at the can, catching the manager's sinister, devilish grin. Darkness swallowed him. Hours later, he woke up with a pounding head, only to find himself heavily chained at the edge of a jagged cliff. A voice chuckled in the dark. Jiang Jian was waiting. Xiao Hai panicked, asking if this was some kind of sick misunderstanding. He tried to make a joke about the chains, but the manager wasn't laughing. A brutal punch to the gut silenced Xiao Hai instantly. Jiang Jian sneered, forcing Xiao Hai to look down into the abyss. 2 massive, glowing eyes stared back from the terrifying dark pit below. The shadows shifted as a gargantuan dragon emerged. Jiang Jian knelt, presenting Xiao Hai as a sacrificial offering to the divine dragon lord. He told the beast that even though Xiao Hai appeared useless, his body contained the dormant spiritual root of an ancient, powerful lineage. This made him a delicacy far superior to common animals. In exchange for the boy, the dragon gifted Jiang Jian a legendary condensation pill. Overjoyed, the manager prepared to achieve his long-awaited breakthrough and left. The dragon turned to Xiao Hai, asking for his final words. Xiao, he glared back with pure defiance. He told the legendary beast that its breath was absolutely foul and suggested it try brushing its teeth. The dragon roared in fury at his insolence. It declared itself the Lord of the Clouds, Master of the 9 heavens, and Ruler of the seas. It boasted of 3,000 years of silent cultivation and 80,000 years of absolute dominance over the celestial realms. Realizing it was arguing with a mere mortal, the dragon felt embarrassed. Displeased by its own loss of composure, it lunged for Xiao Hai. Usually, it would swallow its prey whole, but to punish him, it decided to chew him slowly. Xiao, he cried out in protest. The dragon thought he was begging, but Xiao Hai clarified that his athlete's foot would make the dragon's stinky breath even more unbearable. He teased that the smell of rotting socks would linger in its mouth forever. The dragon let out a thunderous shout, telling him to shut up. With a massive snap, the dragon chomped down. Xiao Hai's lower body disappeared, and he gritted his teeth against the soul-shattering pain. As the dragon swallowed, a mysterious mark ignited on Xiao Hai's severed hand. The forbidden bloodline art had finally awakened. The light of life and death bound their fates together, reflecting every ounce of damage back onto the dragon. As long as the curse lived, Xiao Hai's body would endlessly regenerate. Then came the ultimate terror. Duel annihilation, a skill ensuring that if the sacrifice fell, the dragon would perish alongside him. Without the intervention of high-level immortal magic, revival is impossible. This absolute spell cannot be blocked or interrupted. Suddenly, a teacher's roar shattered Hai's trance, interrogating his delusions. He blinked, finding himself back in a mundane classroom. Instead of reciting the 7 arts of body refinement, he babbled about soul curses. The teacher wondered if he'd overdosed. Laughter erupted from his peers. Meanwhile, in the faculty room, a professor questioned Yin about the mysterious transfer student. She assumed the boy possessed monstrous talent, believing someone with such elite standards would never admit a mere weakling. Yin smirked, mentioning other talents. In truth, he'd taken a massive bribe, expecting the boy to fail the first exam. The class branded Hai as useless trash, their mocking laughter filling the room. Yet, Hai remained unfazed by their insults. He pondered his heaven-sent destiny. After the dragon's killing blow, his long, dormant spiritual root had finally roared to life. His ex-girlfriend's cold words echoed, reminding him he was the final heir of a once great, now crumbling Cultivation clan. Suddenly, a heavy boot slammed onto his desk. A bully loomed over him, barking about the class's ruthless hierarchy. The demand was simple: deliver bottles of body refinement and pay UN pills, plus weekly potions, or suffer his wrath. The class watched Jabai educate the newcomer like a show. Calmly, Hai asked why he should give him anything. Jabai claimed the entire room as his domain. He sneered, boasting that only pathetic weaklings use stairs instead of jumping. Before leaving, he issued a chilling threat: deliver the tribute by dusk, or face a public execution of his dignity. As Jabai prepared to leap from the window, a clever, mischievous thought sparked in Hai's mind. Our hero swiped the bully's leg, sending him plummeting. The satisfying thud of a faceplant echoed for everyone to hear. Classmates crowded the window in disbelief. They couldn't believe the king had just kissed the hard earth face first. They weren't worried about his life. His 100-fold refined steel technique meant a mere fall wouldn't kill him. He lay paralyzed for minutes. When he finally rose, his eyes burned with fury, promising to shatter Hai's legs personally. A green-haired student whispered a warning. Hai was doomed. Jabai was an undefeated monster with a reputation for brutality. His family ruled the city's academic cultivation circles, and his physical mastery had reached a truly terrifying, insane level. He revealed that Jabai's last victim saw his entire family annihilated. He warned that running was futile against such power. He advised avoiding Guji Alley after class, the classic ambush spot, though it was the only path to Hai's home. At dusk, the Guji Alley sign loomed. 3 figures lurked in the shadows, questioning if this overkill was truly necessary. A lackey scoffed, claiming the boss could crush such trash with one hand, but doing so personally was beneath him. Jabai smirked, imagining the little brat trembling in fear while desperately searching for an escape that didn't exist. The bald lackey praised his genius with a grin. Suddenly, Hai appeared, coolly asking who claimed he was hiding. The bald man whipped around, eyes wide. They couldn't believe the boy had walked straight into the lion's den. They assumed he'd simply accepted his inevitable death. Yet, Jabai noticed the kid didn't show a flicker of fear. Curiosity piqued. Jabai wondered if this was a rare hidden dragon type, waiting to unleash a lethal surprise attack. Hai mocked them as cowards, too afraid to corner him at school, choosing this remote alley like common thugs. He complained about the long walk and dared them to strike. Instantly, one lackey's pride snapped like a twig. A brutal kick sent Hai smashing into a wall, leaving a massive crater. They were disappointed by his apparent weakness. Jabai sighed, realizing he'd overthought things. The kid was just a rookie. Hai slumped, his face masked in blood. The bully loomed over him, boasting that a 5th-level body refinement kick had likely liquefied his internal organs. Blooded but unbroken, Hai laughed, calling the kick weak, as if the bully had exhausted himself alone every night. The bully saw red, his rage exploding. He prepared a final bone-crushing kick to end the boy's life forever. Blood sprayed. Jabai froze as a severed leg flew past, the attacker's screams tearing through the alley's silence. As blood pooled, Hai laughed at the maimed attacker. Suddenly, a mysterious woman materialized, standing like an unbreakable shield. Jabai gasped at her godlike speed. Seizing the moment, the bald lackey launched a lethal strike at her back. Xiao Hai warned against such lethal force in the city, but the lackey still unleashed his devastating purple gold club. A cataclysmic explosion rocked the district, obliterating homes. The idiot knew his father would be furious over the carnage. As the dust cleared, silence fell. The bald man froze in terror, and Jabai's jaw hit the floor in disbelief. The club sat on her head, yet she was untouched. Moments earlier, on a celestial island beneath an ancient tree, a silver-haired beauty played checkers with a white crane. The crane asked why the divine dragon preferred a human form. Scorning the archaic laws of the immortal palace, the divine dragon bristled. Why must they always hide behind these beastly forms? You'll end up like that freakish half-human crane, she scoffed. The bird gasped, not in insult but in horror. Mistress, you're bleeding. A joke, surely. An invincible dragon hasn't bled in 100 years. Yet, to her shock, crimson liquid suddenly sprayed from her skin. As the crane spiraled into a panic, the flow intensified. She cast a swift stabilization spell and vanished, leaving the bird behind. Ignoring the crane's frantic cries to report to the elders, she streaked toward the mortal realm like a falling star. A sinister sigil burned onto her palm. Using her divine sense, she realized it was an unbreakable death curse. Some mortal bastard had tied his life to hers. Down in the shadows, a shimmering rectangular barrier locked down the alley. Ancient runes glowed upon the walls, sealing the space. Xiao Hai watched in awe. She'd tanked a quasi-condensation realm strike point blank without even blinking. Her instant shield had perfectly contained the blast, saving the nearby structures. Her cultivation level was clearly off the charts. I've ignored low-level ants for so long, the divine dragon sighed. I forgot how pathetic you truly are. Even a novice was stronger than Xiao Hai. Run! He screamed to his henchman, but the bald man exploded into mist instantly. Paralyzed by terror, Xiao Hai collapsed. He hadn't even seen her move. How could any cultivator be this fast? As death approached, Xiao Hai's legs failed him. He was finished. But suddenly, Hai was hoisted into the air by an unseen force. Surprising. The snack I swallowed is alive again, she mused. Hai froze in terror. It was her, the dragon. Break this curse now, or I'll grind you to dust, she barked. Hai stammered back. I have no idea how. Her fury exploded, slamming him into the concrete until the earth shattered. Undo it, she screamed with every bone-breaking impact. Xiao Hai trembled. She was a monster who'd kill her own. But then, she suddenly coughed up a spray of dark blood. The damage was reflected. Beating him was suicide. To avoid this deadly loop, she had to find another way to break the seal. Wait, Hai croaked, reviving yet again. She cursed inwardly. This shared life bond was absolutely shameless. You ate me like a snack, Hai countered. I want compensation. No one had ever dared negotiate with her before. Speak, she hissed. Make me an immortal, he demanded. Her eyes narrowed in annoyance. And if I refuse your insolent request? Then I'll dive into sulfuric acid, he threatened, and we'll both die repeatedly. The dragon seethed at his blatant blackmail. She considered freezing him in eternal ice, locking him away until she found a loophole in the curse. She had eternity, but he seemed prepared. Go ahead, try it, he taunted. Rage flared, and crimson flames erupted from her shadow. She hurled a tome at him. Immortality isn't achieved in one step, fool. It was a basic manual for slow, grueling training. A pathetic manual for a talentless worm like you, she scoffed. It wouldn't grant godhood, but it would secure his mortal future. The title read, Advanced Skill Payment. Hai sensed the power within the pages. Cultivation was his only hope. Complete idiot, she thought, watching him gloat. Power has a price. She'd bleed him dry until she could kill him. Little did she know, Hai was planning the same. Meanwhile, Xiao Hai tried to blend into the brickwork, praying to be invisible. But the dragon's piercing gaze locked onto him. Death seemed certain. I don't stomp on irrelevant ants, she spat, but forget this, or I'll erase you. Her power flared, and he screamed in terror. Suddenly, he blinked. His instructor was shouting at him to focus on the exam. Yesterday was a total blur. His mind felt like static. He stood there, completely lost in the middle of the hall. This is your first monthly exam of the semester, the instructor roared. Show me your worth. Bottom rankers faced expulsion. The body cultivation test was live. For your futures charge, the teacher commanded. An exam already? The instructors hadn't even started the curriculum. Hai felt completely blindsided by the sudden test. That's senior year for you, a green-haired student whispered. The real lessons ended 2 years ago. Hai had missed the memo on prep classes. In this grade, it was all about outside training and brutal extracurriculars. It was a world of rankings and hype. Without prep school, Hai was walking straight into a slaughterhouse. Your rank is safe, the boy chuckled to a classmate. That idiot transfer student didn't even sign up for cram school. They roared with laughter. But then, they spotted Xiao Hai. Why had the class tyrant suddenly stopped hunting Hai? Jabai was haunted. His crew was dead or dying, and a lingering shadow of terror gripped his very soul. The first trial, penetration. A massive barrier spell awaited, designed to test their raw, destructive power. Jabai, show them how it's done, the instructor called. Jabai launched his strike with devastating, bone-crushing force. The strike pierced through everything. 5 layers of reinforced concrete 1 meter thick shattered like thin glass. A performance worthy of the tempering prodigy. Jabai's power nearly equaled his, sending the girls into a frenzy. Their cheers meant nothing. They couldn't grasp his anxiety. Nearby, the green-haired boy marveled while Hai checked his score. Jabai was a legend, being the sole student handpicked for the prestigious Heizu Cultivation University. This honor stemmed from physical mastery, a test designed to measure sheer, explosive destruction. Success was measured by shattered layers. Most beginners barely dented 3 in their first month. Jabai's 5-layer strike led the pack. Next, the instructor summoned Wu, who launched his projectile with force. The ball hit the first barrier, trembling before finally piercing through. Wu roared in triumph, having narrowly passed. Then, it was the transfer's turn. The instructor loathed the principal's recruit, itching to humiliate Hai. Death was certain, the green-haired boy thought. One failure meant expulsion. Good luck, he whispered, expecting the worst. Hai's gaze burned crimson as he stepped up empty-handed. The instructor sneered, sarcastically hailing their new prodigy. He creates from nothing! Laughter erupted as Jabai joked about the teacher's impending promotion. The mockery intensified until Hai suddenly manifested a sphere of energy. Silence fell as he took his stance. He unleashed the shot. It tore through reinforced barriers easily, leaving the instructor frozen in absolute disbelief. Panic surged as the projectile neared the school's outer ward, only to vanish at the final wall. It had finally spent its fury, but a new record was set. The instructor gasped at the palm lightning. Such explosive force proved Hai was a dual cultivation monster, mastering both body and chi. Truly, a genius. Suddenly, the girls swarmed him. Yesterday's ordinary student had transformed into an irresistible hero in their eyes. His talent rivaled legends. They whispered he must be the secret scion of some ancient, powerful sect. Regret washed over the green-haired boy for his earlier laughter. Later, Hai noted he looked 50 years older. I was blind to your greatness, he stammered, offering his eternal service for any future needs. Hai bid a hasty farewell, vanishing in a blur. The boy marveled at his speed toward the train. Realizing the gap in their effort, Hai sprinted ahead, cursing that devious dragon and her twisted intentions. She had forced a subpar manual upon him, demanding he master the black nether palm lightning immediately. Failure meant his cultivation and bloodline would wither. The clock was ticking. 11 hours and 5 minutes remained. Back home, Hai frantically searched for a skill book he'd bought online, but once found incomprehensible. He'd only read the ending. Desperate for basics, he knew a physical delivery would arrive too late. He turned to the digital version, but the astronomical price tag made him scream in pure shock. Neighbors banged on the floor as he mourned the tens of thousands already wasted on the physical copy. The cost had surged. Now, only 8 hours, 31 minutes, and 24 seconds were left to survive. Time was a luxury. Without this purchase, a single night wouldn't be enough to master the technique. Bleeding cash from the principal's fee, he bit the bullet and paid 200,000 yen. This brought his final balance to $3,372.29. Retreating to the peaks, he focused on breathing. Only 3 hours and 44 minutes remained for activation. With 1 hour left, he unleashed the technique, scarring the forest with crater-sized explosions from his training. He mastered the art with 32 seconds to spare. Too easy, he boasted, catching his breath. Suddenly, vertigo struck, and he collapsed. Meanwhile, thick mist veiled the bathhouse on the floating island. The divine dragon bathed peacefully until blood stained the water, wasting her precious immortal dew. Peering through the ripples, she saw Hai had pushed too hard, his heart stopping from the strain. Useless, she sighed. A simple restriction was all it took to break his fragile mortal form. She begrudgingly began his revival. A week prior, Jabai had secured a top 10 spot in class. Standing by the bulletin board, Jabai bragged about conquering the elite class through pure physical might. While he sneered at the weak, a girl's scream drew everyone to Hai's name on the list. A mysterious transfer student? Jabai grinned, eager to teach this newcomer the true meaning of pain. Back in the present, Hai had surged 10 ranks to 33. Jabai's lackeys watched him closely. In the gym, a terrifying blow shattered a student's neck, leaving him broken and bloodied on the floor. Quickly, the coach roared. Get him to the infirmary. Only Dr. Song's divine miracle hands can save this boy now. What is this? Hai questioned. The green-haired youth explained the trial measured raw palm force and absolute impact resilience. Unlike the previous test, this was Jabai's specialty. He was about to unleash his signature move, the iron-tempered steel. Word was, no student could shatter his defense. Jabai faced his rival, Xiao Hai, the year's undisputed king of palm strength. He hungered for dominance. But Hai wouldn't tolerate his hubris. Stepping forward, he activated the devastating forged steel palm. The collision was cataclysmic, burying them in debris. Is that all? Hai mocked through the haze. Your iron steel is overrated. Shock gripped him. As the dust settled, Jabai stood unmoved. Sneering at the weak strike, Jabai retaliated with a bone-shattering counterblow. Infirmary now! The instructor barked as the body fell. He called for Wu, but Jabai pointed a finger at Hai. Hai stood baffled. Open source versus patented arts? His companion began explaining the complex hierarchy of these secret cultivation methods. It is common sense, the student scoffed. Where did you study? Hai shrugged. Just a local place, municipal number 3 high. The mystery was solved. No wonder he was clueless. He came from a mundane, non-cultivator school for ordinary humans. Listen, the youth whispered. Public arts are free. But patented techniques? Those are strictly registered and guarded by the Bureau. Use them without a license, and you're dead. Unauthorized practitioners face the ultimate penalty, total extermination by the law. Forged steel is common trash, but 100 refined steel? That is elite. For a normal cultivator, its secrets are unreachable. Elite arts demand terrifying talent. Nearby, the instructor cast basic restoration spells, weaving magic to repair the shattered dueling grounds. Hai, step forward! The rivals locked eyes. Jabai's heart hammered against his ribs, an instinctive primal fear he could not explain. Why did his soul tremble? He had only lost one test. He had to crush this peasant to prove his absolute superiority. Let us trade blows, Hai suggested calmly. Enraged by the disrespect, Jabai roared as Hai lunged with a basic steel palm. Jabai sneered at the common technique. He channeled the 100 refined steel while the instructor watched the clash intently. Crack! Their strikes connected. Suddenly, Jabai exploded backward, his body carving a massive, human-shaped crater deep into the reinforced wall. Silence fell like a shroud. The instructor stood paralyzed. How could a mere commoner's technique produce such devastating, world-shaking power? The secret was out. Hai had layered patented, refined steel atop his strike. Did he not fear the Bureau's inevitable catastrophe? Sir, Hai called out casually, you should probably peel him off the wall. I do not think he can climb down. No response? Hai turned to see the instructor trembling like a tamed dog. Young man, tell me, which master trained you? The Dragon Lord, Hai whispered. Later, Jabai awoke in the infirmary, rage burning. Then, a mysterious voice spoke from the shadows. It was Xuan. He studied Hai's photograph with chilling intensity. This face, he looks exactly like someone I used to know. Xuan knew that look. But surely, survival was impossible. Had the Dragon Lord actually shown a rare moment of divine mercy? Chemistry is next, Xuan noted coldly. The topic? Jabai gritted his teeth, responding with a single, dark word. Poison-making. A sinister smile touched Xuan's lips. To the junkyard, then. Meanwhile, Hai was busy refining his strike amidst heaps of scrap. All crushed, boss, Hai reported. Impressed, the owner nodded, instantly transferring the hard-earned credits to the young cultivator's digital account. The cheap boss refused to buy machinery. For Hai, it was perfect getting paid to use scrap cars as training dummies. The system's voice echoed. Finalize your training. 2020 strikes completed. Only 20 more hits to unlock true power. Where can I find a fight tonight? He wondered. Suddenly, a shadow emerged from the darkness. Are you the brat, Hai? Wrong guy, Hai lied smoothly. Name's Yin Jian. Miles away, his teacher let out a massive sneeze, feeling strangely disrespected. A cold? While making a slideshow? Impossible. Back at the yard, the man roared. Stop pretending. I know exactly who you are. Master Jiang wants you dead. It was Jiang Xuan, a Tier 9 powerhouse from the terrifying spiritual attraction realm. Hai stepped forward, sighing. Why didn't you say so? I thought you were just another annoying debt collector coming for me. Xuan scoffed. This kid felt no fear. His spiritual sense told him the boy was barely entering the attraction realm stage. Was he hiding his true strength? Xuan didn't wait. He lunged, a brutal punch sending Hai flying across the junkyard. Xuan pressed the attack, convinced the boy was a fraud, but as he closed in, an eerie chill stalled his killing blow. Is that all? Hai challenged, eyes blazing. The forest shook as they clashed, and another devastating strike slammed into Hai's chest. Hai hit the dirt, but a creepy grin remained on his face. Xuan's blood ran cold. Why was this loser still smiling? His aura was fading, yet that twisted expression lingered. Fed up, Xuan prepared his ultimate move and execution strike to end it. Third sequence. The impact was horrific, blasting Hai backward into a boulder. He collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Weakling, Xuan spat. But Hai wasn't dead. His wounds were knitting together at a speed that defied all known medical logic. He unleashed the final strike. A violent gale erupted as his fist connected. Despite the 20-minute beating, he flashed a chilling, twisted smile. The 100 refined steel training reached its peak. He seized Suan's leg, channeling the devastating black underworld palm thunder directly into his chest. But Suan caught it effortlessly, mocking the low-tier magic. "Is this all?" he sneered, telling his opponent to hold on tight. He pivoted, readying his other hand. With the forged steel palm, he unleashed a 100 refined strike that sent Suan hurtling through the air. The force smashed him through a massive tree trunk. Though he managed to steady himself, he couldn't stop the blood spraying from his lips. His internal meridians were in ruins. He was shocked. How could a mere high schooler at the spiritual attraction stage force him to use healing energy? He swore to kill the brat once he recovered. Suddenly, his heart sank. The lightning ball was still fused to his palm. Terror surged as he tried to shake it off, but it wouldn't budge. In a blinding flash, he was vaporized, leaving only his shades behind. Hai donned the shades as a system alert chimed. Enemy defeated. Reward, the dynamic monocle, a magical tool that grants godlike tracking vision. Grinning at the rare loot, he headed out. By dawn, the new academy rankings were unveiled for all to see. Jiabai's face darkened. Hai had skyrocketed to rank 18. Even the elite thugs he'd sent had been utterly decimated. A mysterious woman approached Hai, offering Yuan-nourishing pills for his secret. Unbeknownst to them, jealous eyes were watching from the shadows. They labeled her Gao Fei the Vixen for her deceptive trade, but the drama was cut short. The poison chemistry class was beginning. Professor Jiang Qingyan prepared a lethal lesson. In the cultivation world, betrayal by rivals and superiors is a constant, deadly threat. Master this, or drop dead on your first job, she warned. Every student felt the chilling weight of the upcoming exam. Trays filled with mysterious samples were placed before each student. Their task: identify the toxins, swallow the safe ones to prove your skill. Grades depended on lightning-fast speed and perfect accuracy. Naming the poison earned extra credit. Little did Hai know, Jiabai and his brother had lethally rigged his entire tray. He expected Hai to die right there. By mixing pungent odors, they'd ensured the boy couldn't identify the poison by scent alone. The tray was a mess of fermented bean juice, stinky tofu, and pungent durian, a sensory nightmare for any cultivator. Any other detection method would fail. The poison was expertly masked, woven into the food with sinister precision. Relying on his family's grandmaster, Jiabai was sure even the professor would be fooled. He smirked, confident in his lethal trap. Students scrambled. Fatty used chemical reagents, while another girl channeled lightning arcs to scan her food for toxins. Professor Qingyan was impressed by the lightning technique, but her eyes narrowed at Hai. He was just sitting there, motionless. Jiabai sneered, thinking Hai was paralyzed by fear. No matter what he chose to eat, he was a dead man walking. Meanwhile, on the celestial floating island, the divine dragon sat fishing, her mind drifting through endless eons. Divinity was a lonely, boring burden. With nothing left to conquer, she spent her days staring at the ripples in the water. Suddenly, her nose and eyes began to bleed. 5 minutes prior, Hai had recklessly devoured every single item on his tray. "Have you lost your mind?" Qingyan gasped. She'd controlled the toxins for the exam, but this was pure suicide. She promised him a week of agony, not death. But Jiabai's grin told a different, much darker story. Every bite was laced with 5 times the lethal dose. Hai's face turned ghostly pale as blood erupted from his eyes and ears. Qingyan checked his pulse, her face turning grim. "He's dead," she announced, sending a wave of shock through the room. Some students worried about a scandal, but others scoffed. He wasn't from a top sect. Senior deaths were common at this academy. Rank 19 celebrated his easy promotion. Meanwhile, Qingyan fumed someone had dared to sabotage her exam and her career. Her suspicions fell on the brainless PE teacher. They'd been rivals for the title and promotion for years. But then, a miracle. Hai's eyes snapped open. The professor jumped back in pure disbelief. This was medically impossible. All 5 were poisoned, Hai reported, exposing the chi dispersing powder. Glowing symbols began to manifest on his palm. And the last one was the soul-ending poison. Jiabai's blood ran cold. Even a condensation realm expert had assisted in this. He'd investigated the boy and found nothing. How could a nameless nobody survive a toxin meant for true masters? Later that night in the lab, Professor Jiang Qingyan studied a single petri dish with intense focus. She enveloped his blood in her aura. Every single one of Hai's answers had been terrifyingly accurate. That idiot PE teacher couldn't have made this. This was the work of a true condensation realm poison master. It took her hours of deep analysis just to understand the toxin. "This kid is an absolute freak," she whispered. In the new immortal bookstore, Hai discovered the secret. The divine dragon spoke through his palms, his bloodline's forbidden technique. You're a fool for not knowing your own power, she scolded. She'd linked their health bars just to keep him from dying. Hai winced, claiming the divine link burned. He sought a gentler way for gods to reach mortals. He envied their freedom, but she scoffed. To humanity, gods were tactical nukes, watched by the palace. Having descended once, any further contact risked discovery. Ruthless immortals would hunt her down immediately. Hai grew bold, asking for the secret locations of legendary, top-tier treasures. All permissible knowledge was infused into his skills. He just had to endure as his hands bled. A female staff member gasped. Students were stressed, but self-harming in a bookstore was beyond belief. Fearing another cleanup, she sighed. Hai apologized, promising to wipe the blood before asking about manuals. He revealed his senior status and his ambition for the condensation realm. He needed elite study guides. With exams a year away, his rush for condensation power left the librarian utterly stunned. Is the condensation realm difficult? He asked. She doubted he was a senior given his ignorance. Breaking through during exams guaranteed acceptance. Instant success meant a direct recommendation to elite colleges. Kids today have dreams but no foundation, she muttered, handing him 3 best-selling cultivation manuals. He grabbed the condensation guide. The clerk frowned, annoyed he ignored her expert recommendations entirely. He flipped through the complex text. She watched, baffled as he skipped straight to the final page. To her, his logic was completely inverted. He seemed like a hopeless case with no future. Advancing required level 10 mastery of chi or body, coupled with a rare condensation pill. Energy could rampage, causing fatal wounds. Success demanded expensive, top-grade stabilizers to survive the transition. He planned to craft the pill at the Jiang estate. Suddenly, a furious roar shattered the air. Jabai berated the condensation-level poison master for failing to eliminate a mere high school senior. The master begged for a second chance. Jabai fumed. Hai was now 10th in class a threat. 1 week, or your head, Jabai barked. Suddenly, a thunderous crash erupted from the roof. Hai smashed through the ceiling, blade in hand. Minutes earlier, the Jiang residence was a fortress. A guard saw his partner drop dead. He grabbed his radio, but a strike silenced him forever. Hai jumped to the balcony, clearing the roof guards. Below, he heard Jabai decreeing his death. Channeling power into his fist, he punched through the floor to drop 2 stories down. Landing before Jabai, he drove his blade into the bully's shoulder. Jabai picked the wrong prey. The new student was no victim. Jabai nearly died as steel grazed his heart, yet he retaliated. Jabai launched a palm strike. Hai blocked with his own, sending the bully through multiple walls. Suddenly, poison needles hissed through the air. Hai parried them, though the surprise momentarily slowed him. An assassin lunged with a bizarre staff that bloomed like a metallic flower of death. Their weapons clashed. A hidden blade sprang toward Hai's eye, leaving only a shallow scratch. The poison master recoiled, recognizing the brat who had somehow survived his previous lethal toxins. I was coming for you, boy, he sneered. His venomous needles were far from ordinary. His ancestral brew meant instant death. Hai's cheek bled, yet his icy gaze never wavered. Dread gripped the master. In a blur, Hai vanished, appearing instantly with a sword at Jabai's throat. Jabai dodged the thrust. As Hai counterswung, a barrage of needles flew from the shadows. Enraged at being ignored, the master fumed. Why was this brat still standing against his venom? Hai shattered a talisman. The master urged Jabai to flee, unleashing a blinding curtain of needles. Jabai leaped to safety. The master unleashed his true power, filling the room with toxic mist. Hai began to choke. This noxious fog was far more lethal than any poisoned needle. The toxin blackened his skin. Hai collapsed, and the poison master erupted in triumphant laughter. He mocked Hai's supposed immunity. Suddenly, a statue split apart as the boy's eyes snapped open. With one swift arc, Hai slashed the master. Terror filled the man. He had severely miscalculated. Divine Dragon's clay avatars had diverted the damage, but 2 were already reduced to dust. Sensing trouble, she watched him strike. The victim gasped, defeated by a mere spiritual attraction student. Blood soaked the ground. Checking his pulse, Hai found only a cold, deathly silence. He looted the body for scrap. Nearby, Jabai collapsed on a mountain road, gasping for air. Exhausted and phoneless, he desperately flagged a car to summon the Jiang family's terrifying might. Rage consumed him. How dared a mere transfer student challenge the prestige of the Jiang bloodline? He gathered his assassins, vowing total annihilation. Then, Hai emerged from the shadows like a ghost. Steel clashed. Jabai hardened his skin like refined steel, but Hai's blade still tasted blood. He retreated, bleeding. But before he could breathe, an explosive orb detonated right in his face. The blast sent him plummeting down the cliff. Hai dived after him to finish the job. Broken and desperate, Jabai barked threats of family vengeance. Hai simply severed his arrogant head. Hai sighed. Without the Dragon King absorbing the impact, he would have died 10 times over. Even at death's door, he clung to his name. Hai incinerated the remains, leaving no trace. Proof or not, the Jiang family would come for him. Blood always demands blood in this world. Recognizing their signature techniques, Hai knew this bloody war was only just beginning. At least the spoils were worth it. He'd snatched a fortune before fleeing the scene. 3 condensation pills, rare treasures that even the highest Sect elites would kill to possess. He realized how cutthroat the Sects truly were. He also pocketed gold, talismans, and sharp blades. Every item meant money. Suddenly, the system pinged, offering a brand new marketplace interface. Ever since he unlocked advanced payments, these annoying pop-ups likely that Dragon's work never stopped. It was like modern e-commerce, big data. He suddenly felt the urge to clear his browsing history. A mystical wheel spun before him, flickering with artifacts. He clicked the sell button. Manuals and gold bars vanished into light. His balance surged by 154,000 wen. Then, a legendary heaven-opening blade appeared. The price? A staggering 1 million wen. He'd sold his entire haul for that much. This wasn't a store. It was pure highway robbery. He could afford it, but refused to be scammed. He browsed for better value items instead. Spatial pocket pants caught his eye. Durable, tear-resistant, and perfect for his growing inventory. He swiped his credits. His balance dropped to 954,000 wen instantly. He eyed the boiling blood perk. 600,000 wen for power that grows with every wound. Next were swift eye lenses. 50,000 wen for dynamic vision that could track lightning. An anti-impact shirt for 100,000 wen? It was tougher than his own skin. Finally, grip shoes for 200,000. Footwear that defied gravity with pure spiritual power. The shopping spree was over. He was left with a measly 4,700 wen. As Hai wept over his wallet, the divine dragon smirked, plotting her long-awaited revenge. A cat messenger arrived at the altar. They had finally found a way to break the curse. The report was shocking. Hai's bloodline was pathetic, capable only of cursing low-level beasts. His ancestors were weaklings who died in minor skirmishes. No sect ever wanted their blood. He was a nobody. How did a mortal worm bind a magnificent celestial dragon king? The cat surmised it was the emperor's seal that had weakened her divinity upon descent. Combined with the boy's desperate will, the curse's limits had temporarily exploded beyond reason. But there was hope. As a mere spiritual attraction cultivator, he could only tap her power. The ritual began. As she stepped into the magic circle, ancient runes flared to life. She screamed as the curse was dragged from her soul. Meanwhile, Hai slept peacefully on Earth. The curse manifested as a glowing thread. She gathered her power, preparing to sever the bond. A sudden knock interrupted her. A messenger announced that the celestial minister requested her presence. No communication talisman? A personal envoy meant that serious trouble was brewing in the heavens. Before the empty throne, a shadow whispered, tempting her with the crown. The celestial minister appeared, mocking the absent emperor's power. She scoffed, knowing his thirst for the seat was the worst-kept secret in the heavens. "Stop these pathetic mental games," she hissed, cutting straight to the reason for this sudden, unwanted summons. Fierce as always, he chuckled, before revealing her promotion application was the true catalyst for their meeting. Denied, her ascension to high immortal was blocked, mocking the sacrifice of her lands and loyal followers years ago. A century-old promise shattered. He claimed times had shifted, with countless minor immortals now flooding the palace with requests. An ancient vow wasn't enough to silence the dissenters. "Earn more merit," he advised. "Ascend your cultivation further first." She vanished mid-sentence, leaving the air cold. Even her feline companion was stunned by her lightning-fast return. Streaking across the heavens like a vengeful comet, her face was a mask of pure, unbridled rage. Disaster was coming. She reached the precipice, landing with a cataclysmic boom that sent shockwaves rippling through the entire ancient forest. The cat tumbled onto the jagged stones, checking her vitals. "Oh, I'm just wonderful," she hissed with biting sarcasm. "I'm perfectly fine. Except for this suffocating restraint." The cat stared in disbelief at the mountain she'd just pulverized. Playtime was over. It was time to break her mule. Meanwhile, deep within the human realm, he continued his training. His path to the condensation realm was now rock solid. Every piece of the puzzle was set, pending a final push. He triggered the breakthrough. Raw energy erupted, a pillar of light piercing the clouds as dust choked the clearing. Dust settled, revealing eyes burning crimson. With his advance paid promotion, his physical power and mana pool surged to legendary levels. His senses sharpened, and his mind expanded. New, exclusive, condensation realm, techniques and artifacts were finally within his grasp. The system demanded strict requirements to finalize his status, listing several rare and essential treasures for the ritual. 1 condensation pill, 10 stabilizing pills, 3 bottles of extract, and 10 layers of spirit attracting. The list was specific. He already possessed everything. It felt too simple. until a sudden side quest notification flashed with a sinister gleam. Mission: clear the secret realm while cursed with hemorrhage. The penalty? A 30% deduction of his hard-earned cultivation. A heavy price for his early power. Compound interest would follow. But first, where exactly was this cursed demon cave? A crimson seal ignited beneath his feet. No time to prepare. He plummeted into the darkness as the 20-minute timer began. Spikes loomed below. Channeling energy into his limbs, he desperately sought a grip on the treacherous vertical stone walls. He skidded down, stopping a hair's breadth from a lethal point. Death had just whispered in his ear. A larger health bar didn't negate the pain. With the hemorrhage curse looming, every scratch was a potential death sentence. A metallic limb whipped out. He ducked, narrowly dodging the blow, only to meet another spike with a defiant slash. Steel met stone. His upgraded speed and raw power were finally showing their true, terrifying potential. His blade wasn't legendary, but infused with mana, it sliced through waist-thick stone as if it were mere parchment. This was the true power of cultivation. Sensing a new threat, he zigzagged upward, a blur of motion and intent. The exit was barred. Pincer attacked from both sides. He unleashed the black nether fist and obliterated everything in his path. 17 minutes and 36 seconds remained. Suddenly, stony warriors rose from the earth, surrounding him in a silent phalanx. Hammer-wielding stone golems blocked his path. Time was bleeding away. He couldn't afford to waste a single second on them. The curse took hold. As he buckled, a golem swung its massive hammer down. A sickening thud echoed through the chamber. A conjured stone hand caught the blow. Driven by blood loss, his boiling blood skill activated, pushing his power further. His strength surged. He cleaved the golem in two before the system flashed a new directive: complete stone golem training. He needed 5 perfect kills using his golem, 0 out of 5. He summoned a massive stone fist to crush them. Stone shattered under his command. Elsewhere, in a dark, forgotten corner, a man named Zikian brutally struck a chained captive. A harsh blow forced her awake. Finding herself before a grotesque altar, she realized her nightmare was only just beginning. "Manager Zikian?" she whimpered. Zikian ignored her, fuming over his failed investment in an expensive, underperforming condensation pill. The dragon god was silent. Desperate, he turned to a darker deity, seeking a new pill at any cost necessary. Terror gripped her. She was to be the sacrifice. All for a measly 3,000 a month in her life? She'd worked like a slave, and now this? Death wasn't in the contract, she screamed, her voice cracking with desperation. "The agency signed your life away, not me," Zikian sneered, pressing a cold, sharp blade against her trembling throat. Enough talk. As she begged for mercy, a sudden explosion rocked the room. He had arrived with a simple stick. He spotted the fatherly manager and offered a single, defiant middle finger. The first phase of his training was complete. Jigan's face paled with disbelief. To think he'd breach this hidden sanctum and dismantle the mechanical guardians? Hay smirked, unfazed by his survival. Clearly, someone warned him that killing me is an impossible feat. He invoked the name of John's fallen sibling. John reeled, unable to grasp that his brother died by Hai's hand. Demanding his brother's condensation pill, he lunged. He'd reclaim the artifact even if he had to spill blood. Death meant nothing to him. His previous alliance was merely a calculated move to preserve his own prestige. As the survivor, he claimed the spoils of war, but Hay's sudden palm technique caught him completely off guard. His right arm shattered into crimson mist. As the dark-haired woman averted her gaze, Jigan's broken form slid toward the altar. Fresh blood acted as a catalyst. Deep within the shadows, an ancient horror stirred, radiating a suffocating, sinister aura. Only 9 minutes and 20 seconds remained. Hay severed her chains, and a flicker of recognition crossed her face. He'd vanished after the incident, yet here he was, possessing terrifying strength. "No time for explanations," he snapped. He commanded the golem to secure her escape. She remained paralyzed in shock as the Titan's hand gripped her. Jigan's essence was consumed by the altar's dweller. Its eyes snapped open, and its hand closed around a blade. She emerged from the darkness. Bathed in an eerie crimson glow, her presence transcended the limits of mortality. Hay's senses recoiled. Her power was a crushing tide, so overwhelming that her mere existence drew blood from him. His divine inspection met a violent backlash. Behind her, the stone portal slammed shut, sealing their fate together. What nightmare had Jigan's sacrifice unleashed? Without a single word, she lunged forward like a streak of lightning. He parried with his dagger, but her monstrous strength forced him down. Her blade grazed his shoulder with lethal precision. A devastating kick followed. He blocked, but the resulting shockwave sent him crashing violently against the cavern walls. She resumed a lethal stance. Her strikes were boulders of pure force. Hay needed the golem's aid for her next assault. Before he could react, cold steel bit into him. Far away on the floating isle, 3 clay effigies shattered. The divine dragon grew uneasy. The simultaneous destruction of the substitute puppets was a dark omen of approaching death. He hadn't even seen her blade move, yet blood was already spilling. He collapsed, his body failing him. Arcane energy swirled around her fingertips. Closing her eyes, she prepared a finishing blow aimed straight for his throat. Metal clashed, his dagger held firm, but the sheer force of the impact unleashed a howling gale through the chamber. He sensed her relentless follow-up. With a flick of his finger, the golem's massive fist erupted from the shadows. She tumbled through the air, narrowly evading the mechanical strike. Repositioning herself, a shadow of surprise flickered in her eyes. As he countered, the system chimed. Damage at 99%. Boiling blood surged, awakening his dormant killing intent. A thrill coursed through him. This was a real duel. He'd finally decoded the rhythmic sequence of her lethal strike. No wonder defense was futile before. He unleashed a flurry of dagger strikes, met by the elegant steel of her blade. He launched a deceptive orb. It detonated upon her sword, forcing her to unleash her ultimate technique once more. He anticipated this. The system confirmed the prepayment of her skill as she invoked the terrifying celestial annihilation. Colliding forces tore the air apart. As the dust settled, both warriors remained upright, unyielding amidst the devastation. Suddenly, she collapsed. Hai stood unscathed. How? Her strike was swifter, yet he remained untouched by her blade. He chuckled at her bewilderment. So you can speak? I truly believed you were a silent phantom of death. Speed isn't everything, he countered. Originally, he sought to build a defense against her final devastating blow. His cultivation was insufficient for such a defense. He recalled their prior clash. She had hesitated to deliver the final killing stroke. She'd aimed for his throat previously. Predicting her next target would be his head, he laid a clever trap. He even managed a retaliatory strike. Her fury flared, but a shimmering magic circle suddenly manifested, demanding her attention. A system warning blared. Complete the hand seals for the prepaid technique immediately, or face the wrath of divine retribution. This was the price of Heaven's law, a terrifying divine ordeal. Both combatants began weaving complex, soul-binding hand gestures. Panic gripped her as her seals failed to align. Suddenly, ghostly hands erupted from the earth, pinning her arms down. She fought to complete the casting. But Hai didn't need to break her spell, he only needed to stall for time. She broke her bonds and resumed, but time had run out. Celestial circles descended from the heavens, the tribulation had begun. The landscape was pulverized. Amidst the ruin, Hai stood safe. The system confirmed the completion of the quasi-condensation prepayment. The system harvested its share of cultivation. Hai ascended to the third layer of the condensation realm. The survivor, Long Yin, crawled from the pit, accepting her fate with eerie calm. Instead of killing her, Hai healed her wounds. Our fates are now one, he declared. He inscribed a blood curse upon her, transferring her pain to the Dragon King. Far away, a cat slept in peace. As the bathtub surged with foam, the divine dragon rose. The startled cat awoke, frantically seeking answers for her sudden movement. A chilling presence signaled another vampire's approach. Simultaneously, the system pinged. The advanced payment skill has evolved. He can now finance magical artifacts and elixirs early, provided their rank remains within his current major realm. At school next day, Long Yin arrived in provocative attire. The main character turned as Fatty, and the green-haired boy stared, bewildered. His companion teased him about his sister-in-law. Pale with shock, he clarified his heart belonged solely to teacher Zhou. He questioned their connection. She smirked, reminding him of their recent battle and their shared soul-bound health bar. Recognizing her at last, he realized her new hairstyle had fooled him. He wondered how she secured her sudden enrollment. Seating herself, she claimed one trick never fails. 2 days prior, the principal accepted gold bars to admit this transfer student. Back in class, Teacher Tao announced the end of minor drills. The brutal mock exams were finally set to begin. This represented the first true combat for most. They had refined their spirits through dozens of years of grueling study. Now, they had to prove their cultivation's worth. He ordered Grade 12 Class 1 to assemble in the testing arena immediately. Roll calls echoed through Class 2 and 3. As Class 4 was called, Yin smiled, finding the examination quite intriguing. The green-haired student feared public humiliation. The main character offered a calm assurance that everything would be fine. Hope flared, then died, as he admitted he simply possessed no shame. Amidst the chatter, the teacher declared the rules. Every class occupied an exclusive zone. Sealed barriers surrounded the perimeter, ensuring no candidate could interfere with another's trial. Each student faced the same beast. Annihilating the monster within 5 minutes guaranteed a perfect full score. Failing that, points were based on total damage. If catastrophe struck, Teacher Zhou would personally intervene to save them. The trials commenced. The first warriors summoned from Grade 12 Class 1 were Xiao Jiang and Guoan Liang. Tang Long from Class 2 and Ryugasaki Hanako from Class 4 followed. He wondered why the Ying sect was present. His friend explained it was a Cultivation Education Bureau mandate. Under the peace treaty, schools must host Ying sect students. He assumed exchange programs were for ordinary schools. He never expected such politics within the world of high-level cultivation. A dark-haired girl sensed his gaze. It was Ryugasaki Hanako, her intuition sharp as she scanned the watching crowd. Yin fumed as the girl glared at her master. She claimed only she held the right to glare at her brother. The green-haired boy marveled at their strange hierarchy. Then, the ground shook as the first exam monster was summoned. A grotesque portal tore open, revealing a nightmare. A massive mushroom creature emerged, its aura radiating pure, ominous energy. Teacher Jian trembled, recognizing the cloud canopy demon lord once suppressed by the Tang sect. This was far too dangerous. Teacher Tao mocked his concern, laughing that such cowardice was why he remained a lowly physical education teacher. Tao explained these weren't the original entity. These monsters were merely clones cultivated from high-grade demonic spores. Though in the condensation realm, they were weaker than proctors. With suppression stones active, there was absolutely nothing to fear. A student launched a fire talisman, forcing the beast back. The teacher warned that 0 damage meant a 0 score. The failed student wept in despair. Another rained stones upon the beast, only to be crushed by a devastating counterpunch. Despite dealing damage, the monster hurled the student from the ring. Disqualified, his dreams of passing shattered instantly. Results flickered. Jiang Xuan earned 61, Wei Wen failed completely, and Chen Jianglin managed a respectable 68. Spectators gasped at the extreme difficulty. Not a single soul had reached 70, and passing grades were vanishingly rare. They cursed the unknown teacher who designed this nightmare. Meanwhile, the green-haired boy felt relieved by the collective failure. Teacher Jian shouted that Tao had crossed the line. This impossible difficulty would surely destroy the student's fragile confidence. Tao countered coldly. If they couldn't survive a mere mock exam, they were the worst class he had ever taught. Suddenly, the arena shifted. Hanako was retreating toward the barrier's edge. It was a sight no one expected. The crowd thought she was surrendering. But as she reached the boundary, she leaped with grace, defying their expectations. Using the barrier as a springboard, she gained explosive momentum. The mushroom monster swung a heavy fist to crush her. Her blade sang as it left the sheath. In one flash, she carved the beast into nothingness, leaving Jian speechless. A perfect score! The crowd erupted, calling her a monster for achieving what seemed impossible for any normal student. Word spread of the Ying sect's top genius from Class 4. Nearby, a samurai watched with a dark, smug grin. This was only the beginning. He had secretly planted mushrooms in the arena floor, linked to a far deadlier horror. Unaware of the lurking shadows, the next group of students was summoned to face their impending doom. Class 1's top genius, Luna, was called to the stage. Everyone anticipated a flawless score from the Rank 1 prodigy. Hei's fingers danced across his secret system wheel. When questioned, he casually claimed he was just swatting away some annoying mosquitoes. Rankings were meaningless to him. His heart was set on snagging legendary magical artifacts through an advanced payment. Fangirls erupted in cheers as Junhao stepped forward. Bursting with arrogance, he was ready to butcher the exam monsters. He hungered to prove that not all number ones are created equal. Suddenly, a sinister black mist swirled from a mushroom beast. Teacher Tao was stunned by the anomaly, but Junhao just smirked, promising an instant soul-crushing kill. Glowing runes blazed on his fist as he struck. The impact sent the monster flying, leaving Teacher Jian in total awe. Tao explained the trick, a magic formation etched into his very flesh. Each punch now carried the weight of a falling star. He was a golden ticket to the elite universities. His teacher hid a bitter jealousy that this genius wasn't in his class. The earth-shattering blow left a massive crater. Junhao boasted his admission was secured and his dominance was absolute. But joy turned to ash as the monster stood unfazed. Even the masters trembled as the beast loomed over them. He blamed his technique, refusing to see the truth. He decided he'd just have to smash it again with more fury. Teacher Jian screamed a frantic warning, but Junhao ignored it. Before his fist landed, a counterblow sent him flying. He slammed into the stone wall with a bone-shattering impact. Jian rushed to help, but both were left coughing blood. Internal injuries burned like wildfire within him. This beast was a catastrophe that shouldn't exist in a student's exam. He scrambled for the radio, demanding reinforcements. This was an off-the-charts nightmare. The exam had become a slaughterhouse. He begged for the highest-tier masters available. As the beast charged, magical chains suddenly snaked around its feet. The proctor finally engaged, binding the creature's limbs. But deep within the monster, its true, terrifying eyes snapped open. Malignant spikes erupted from its back. They pierced the earth like a forest of jagged blades. The proctor held firm, but the ground began to disintegrate. A chilling sense of doom washed over him. An explosion rocked the area as the beast broke free. It countered a torrential fireball with a toxic fungal blast. Lunging through the smoke, the monster targeted the rooftop sniper. The predator had finally found its next victim. Hanako watched the carnage, drawing her twin swords. She refused to let innocent blood stain her path to glory. Suzaki Kaku snarled at her interference. This chaos was a gift, a paved road for her guaranteed success. With her rivals dead, the top universities would be hers. A cold-blooded path to the pinnacle of power. She spat at his cowardice. She would never accept a throne built on such despicable methods. She lunged to strike, but a soul-binding curse paralyzed her. She collapsed in agony as Kaku smiled like a demon. The leash was finally secure. His father's master plan wouldn't be ruined by a girl's fragile conscience. Hanako lacked the cold-blooded nature of the Ryugasaki family. She was cursed with the integrity of her original bloodline. He wondered why his father wasted resources on a saint. Then, a thunderous explosion rocked the building's rooftop. Teacher Tao was hurled away like a broken doll. This beast was at the 5th layer of condensation. He deployed an astral shield, but the monster was a blur. It moved faster than the human eye could track. His defensive dome shattered like glass. In an instant, the beast's claws were wrapped around Tao's throat. A demonic grin met the teacher's fading gaze. Darkness began to consume him as the beast squeezed. Suddenly, a silver flash severed the monster's arm. Our hero had arrived. Let's rewind 15 minutes. The green-haired student was paralyzed by the demonic aura. The crushing pressure was enough to break any mortal's will. These cultivators were shaking in their boots. The monster was at the 7th layer, a true bringer of death. Yin's blood boiled as her instinct screamed. Her body recognized a superior predator and was preparing for war. He activated the perimeter seal, locking the arena. No one would escape the impending storm of steel. The beast hungered for a total massacre. To the world, he was just a 3rd-layer student. But with his infinite health, his true might rivaled a 7th-layer god. Time to browse the shop. He found a masterpiece in the system's forbidden market. A top-grade blade available through advanced payment. It was a literal artifact eater. It could refine and absorb the essence of any magical tool it encountered. It could even store and amplify his own divine techniques. The perfect weapon for a legendary transformation. With the Cloud Rune guide in hand, he prepared. Yin was his backup. The hunt was finally beginning. He sensed the bonus boss would summon reinforcements. Yin agreed, though she doubted the teacher's ability to intervene. Hei realized her instincts for predators were sharp, though she overlooked the weaker threats lurking in the shadows. He explained the faculty's limits. Most were merely at the 1st layer of condensation. Only Teacher Tao reached the 5th. With time to set a formation, Tao might survive, but in a sudden ambush, he was completely outmatched. Sudden chaos was Hei's specialty. His blade glowed, successfully infused with the lethal boiling blood attribute. Tao was gasping for air when Hei intervened. The veteran educator was stunned to see the new transfer student. He warned that a powerful barrier blocked the wall, sealing the student's only path to safety. He urged Hei to shatter the seal while he engaged the beast. Tao's dedication to his students burned bright. A true paragon of teaching, he stood firm to protect his disciples. The monster loomed, spores erupting from its neck. Its severed limb regenerated instantly. Hei noted its terrifying recovery speed, a classic trait of high-level fungal monstrosities. The beast lunged. Hei parried, feeling the impact as the creature hardened its fist with concentrated demonic aura. It compressed energy onto its knuckles for maximum lethality. A devastating follow-up punch sent Hei reeling backward. He stabilized just before hitting the wall, but the monster was already there. It raised a massive fist high. The strike exploded. Smoke clouded the arena. Teacher Jian watched in horror, fearing the transfer student was finished. Tao shouted for him to dive in. He knew Jian had been lurking in the shadows all along. Jian's sudden heroism meant the boy's family had pulled strings. Otherwise, the selfish teacher would never risk his life. Jian's silence was a confession. Tao admired the boy's bravery, yet knew they were facing an impossible situation. Hope was fading. Breaking the seal was their only prayer. Meanwhile, the mushroom relentlessly pummeled Hei's position. Jian looked away from the carnage. Surely the young student had been crushed into a bloody pulp. The monster reveled in its triumph until Hei caught its fist barehanded. Both Gian and the beast froze in shock. Now it was Hei's turn. With a ferocious swing, he sent the nightmare flying across the stadium. As it scrambled up, a streak of light descended. Hei's sword fell like a comet, caught barely by the monster's palms. Hei unleashed the dark sword Heart Thunder. A void orb erupted from the tip, leaving only the creature's foot behind. Spores drifted through the air. Jian marveled at the one-shot victory, but Hei sensed a new threat approaching from above. A second horror appeared, sporting a massive eye on its cap. It spun violently, launching a barrage of deadly spikes. The spikes morphed into organic missiles, raining death upon Hei. He braced for the incoming storm of destruction. Panic erupted among the trapped students. With the exit sealed, Hei surged forward to activate the golem shield formation. The students trembled, The attack's range was too vast. Death felt certain as one missile locked onto a defenseless student. A massive blast rocked the ground, triggering a chain reaction. Explosions bloomed everywhere like a deadly fireworks show. The student flinched, but the hit never came. Cheers broke out as they realized a formation had miraculously saved them. Such a massive barrier required immense spiritual cultivation. They knew a legendary genius was standing among them that day. As the shield shimmered, Yin sighed. Hai was too kind-hearted, wasting his power to save those who meant nothing. Saving those weaklings would make him a target during university exams. Worse, Hai's mana reserves were now dangerously low. The airborne mushroom cap disintegrated. The monster snarled in fury before vanishing into thin air. It reappeared instantly beside him. Hai kicked his sword upward and leaped back, narrowly evading a bone-crushing strike. In a flash, it was behind him again. Hai countered, his blade crackling with menacing black static energy. With a clean arc, he decapitated the beast. Yet, the head regrew instantly, its body barely even flinching. Lightning magic allowed him to sever limbs easily, but regeneration made it pointless. The head wasn't the weak point. He realized the core was hidden in the torso. Suddenly, the monster's face unzipped, revealing a terrifying third eye. Its speed reached a new peak. Hai tracked its movement and struck, but the beast dodged and countered hard. Hai coughed blood as he was sent flying. The monster circled him like a lightning bolt, leaving ghost-like afterimages behind. Despite the onslaught, Hai skillfully parried the storm of fists. Bruised and battered, he stood strong and refused to break. Jian's hope flickered out. He feared the talented transfer student had finally reached his limit against this overwhelming foe. Tao muttered that it was a suicide mission. The power gap was simply too vast for any student to overcome. Still, Hai's raw power was undeniable. He fought like a top 10 ranker. Yin watched closely as the warriors clashed again. Her patience frayed as he held back his finishing move, forcing him into a desperate, staggering retreat. The beast moved like a blur, its sudden explosive acceleration before striking making it nearly impossible to track. Despite pouring every ounce of strength into his defense, most of the devastating impact still broke through. With damage exceeding 150%, his boiling blood skill ignited. He took his stance and lunged. Blade raised, he stood frozen. Teacher Jian watched in confusion, baffled by his student's eerie, motionless posture. Jian sensed surrender, but he was wrong. Suddenly, the legendary heavenly law of annihilation erupted with terrifying force. The shockwave surged toward Jian's observation deck, instantly shattering the defensive barrier into 1,000 jagged shards. Tao stood speechless. A barrier his ultimate techniques couldn't scratch had just crumbled like fragile glass before Hai. Overwhelmed by inadequacy, Tao considered resigning. Where the monster once stood, only drifting ashes remained in the crater. He claimed a demon fiend core, a rare prize that, once nurtured, becomes a beastmaster's ultimate combat companion. The system demanded the final ritual for the heavenly law. His hands wove complex seals, sealing the divine contract. Stunned, Jian admitted he missed the final blow's speed. He whispered that Hai's power far surpassed the top 10. He belonged among the absolute elite. Tao remained silent, however, drowning in the bitter realization of his own weakness. During a quiet park stroll, Hai felt his power peak. He had reached the condensation realm's 9th layer. New abilities unlocked, allowing him to bestow techniques. Suddenly, Yin gasped. Hai was blowing up all over social media. The net was calling him the ultimate dark horse. His ticket to the world's premier cultivation universities was secured. Noticing his strange mid-air hand signs, she questioned him. Hai simply smirked, claiming he was just paying his insurance. He sacrificed 30% of his hard-earned experience and merit points as an offering to the Divine Dragon. His wounds lingered stubbornly. The system's healing only triggered once the Divine Dragon received its mandatory insurance tribute. Something felt wrong about Yin. An ominous dark haze suddenly obstructed the flow of energy between them. He stood vigilant as a pitch-black shroud swallowed the sky, plunging the entire area into an unnatural, suffocating darkness. The black abyss forbidden domain had manifested, a total isolation zone where no soul could enter or ever escape. This sinister formation was designed for one purpose: silencing witnesses. Suddenly, a lethal kunai whistled through the shadows. Hai summoned his hand golem to intercept, but the blade was rigged. Upon impact, it triggered a violent explosion. Yin retreated, only to be snared by a viscous dark pool. As it swallowed her, Hai watched the smoke. The ingenuity of the attack actually amused him, miniature explosive formations etched directly onto the steel of a kunai. A specialized abduction technique. Hanako lunged from the gloom, her blade clashing fiercely against Hai's own drawn steel. Her follow-up strike connected with his hand, but she had used the blunt edge. Hai's weapon clattered to ground. Leaping back to safety, Hanako kept her distance. Hai asked if this elaborate ambush was merely a disarming tactic. She admitted her father's death warrant. Hai was a threat to her ascent into the elite academic circles. Rejection of such cruelty filled her heart. She aimed to fake his death by presenting his weapon as proof. The price for life was exile. He must flee the country and abandon his dreams of the university exams. If he remained a top-tier student, the ruthless Ying sect would never stop hunting him until he was buried. Her blade shimmered. Suddenly, the system flashed a notification: the Weapon Cloud Ruin post-payment mission had been officially triggered. A clash of dominance ignited. As swirling shadows consumed them both, Hanako cried out in terror at the phenomenon. Seeking higher ground, she leapt to a branch, then a roof frozen by the sight of an impossible landscape. Disoriented by the shift, she demanded answers. Hai revealed they were trapped within the ethereal realm of past reflections, a spectral dimension of untouchable memories. The advanced blade had forged a soul link with her, dragging them into history. Upon seizing the sword, the trial activated instantly, yanking their consciousness into this realm of long-forgotten echoes. Finding her hands empty, she panicked. Hai noted the true blade remained hidden somewhere within this distorted memory space. Without locating it, the weapon was lost forever. Suddenly, a hauntingly familiar melody drifted through the silent, misty air. A young girl sprinted toward the estate. It was Hanako's younger self, shouting a cheerful greeting as she reached home. Horror dawned. A slaughterhouse awaited inside. She wailed for her siblings, finding her mother impaled by a cold blade. A shadow loomed her senior brother. Why was he clad in the Ying sect's colors? Confused, she asked what happened. His sinister grin widened. The scene shifted. Hanako was once a prodigy, nailing bullseyes and showing off mid-air knife redirections. Her father beamed with pride while Huajiang trained nearby. Tianjing wondered if their father would finally bestow the legendary iron wall blade technique upon him. Though no blood relative, the boy served for 3 years. His polite, simple facade fooled them all. Jung was the perfect disciple, diligent and tea-ready. The master saw only a loyal, honest successor. That illusion shattered as cold steel pierced the master's chair. Bleeding, the master gasped, "Why, Jung?" Jung's eyes turned icy. He was never kin. A Ying clan spy, hiding under lies for 6 years. His goal? Stealing the iron wall blade technique. Now a master, he prepared to slaughter the lineage. The dying master warned of guards outside. Suddenly, a trembling hand gripped the door from the courtyard. It was Tian Hui, clutching a fatal chest wound. She struggled toward her father, then collapsed instantly. Watching his daughter perish, the master's world collapsed. Jung smiled. A beast who had poisoned the family. The Ying way. Learn the move, erase the clan. He only regretted the youngest was still at school. He praised her talent just as she arrived. The master begged, pleading for his little girl's life. Jung promised her safety for now. Her high-quality spiritual root was too precious. He'd adopt her instead. But no reunion would last. Once she entered the academy, he'd harvest her root and kill her. The master died in agony. At the gates, Jung greeted the girl, claiming the wait was boring. He casually admitted to the massacre. Devastated, she threw daggers at him, vowing to end his life. Jung parried effortlessly. He recognized her omnidirectional flying dagger style, designed to strike every blind spot. She was the clan's prodigy, but against his perfected iron wall technique, her strikes were child's play. Daggers hissed past him as Jung closed the gap. He seized her neck, slamming her down brutally. Darkness claimed her. He placed the heart-binding curse, rebirthing her as his daughter, Ryugasaki Hanako. He would sharpen this tool within the Ying clan. When she woke, she called the murderer father. A final blaze consumed the estate as they departed. Years later, the adult Hanako watched the flames. Memories flooded back, fueling a tide of rage. Ignoring the system's warnings, she lunged at him. Her blade struck, only to shatter against his aura. Jung paused, sensing a faint, ghostly ripple behind. Young Hanako asked if something was wrong. Nothing, he lied, though he felt a presence before leaving. He planned her education in the Eastern tongue. In the present, Hanako collapsed, her screams echoing loudly. Betrayal tasted like ash. Suddenly, the system shifted the memory into a tangible reality for her companion. Their objective: find the Cloud Ruin Guide. Together, they stepped into the skeletal remains of her home. They searched for a hidden legacy. Her divine sense tingled, detecting something buried deep beneath the earth. Using a golem's strength, her companion unearthed the treasure. A blade emerged, a relic that truly was hers. Handing it over, he explained its purpose. This was her father's last gift to rediscover herself. Beside it lay a secret manual. It was a martial art specifically forged to shatter the iron wall. She hesitated, citing the decades required to master it. The first layer alone seemed like an impossible mountain. Time was a luxury she lacked. If she took too long, Shoichi would surely sniff out her rebellion. "You won't wait," he whispered, pressing fingers to her brow. Ancient knowledge surged into her mind. The breaking blade technique reached completion instantly. The system registered the payment, binding her to the debt. 30% of her future experience would serve as interest. This was the true system panel nature. The panel only manifests upon her acceptance. Refusal means the power vanishes, leaving only the heavy debt. She knelt, bowing to her new mentor. He accepted her as his disciple, urging her to rise. He promised more gifts, including enchanted robes, to prepare her for the bloody path that lay ahead. The quest for the Cloud Ruin Guide ended at dawn. Tianhui traced the glowing handmark. Their fates were now entwined by blood. 2 souls, 1 health bar master and disciple bound forever. He would bear her pain, but her blade was terrifying. The more she suffered, the deadlier she became. A voice broke her trance. Her brother, Kaku, reminded her that their father was currently speaking. Shoichi praised her for fixing her flaws. He believed his grooming had finally produced the perfect weapon. She had slaughtered the obstacles and brought a treasure. He gloated, thinking his investment had finally paid. Hanako's gaze turned icy. She questioned if their deeds were truly honorable, challenging the monster she loved. He questioned if she dared doubt his lifelong sense of justice. She sneered, mocking his hollow talk of virtue and sincerity. Yet his hands were stained with theft, blood, and genocide. Rage flared in Kaku's eyes at her words. He claimed their father's sins served the sect. She coolly tied her hair, dismissing their petty rules for true righteousness. Obsessed with trifles, they lacked real virtue. She fastened her bun with a gleaming moon crescent artifact. This high-grade treasure drastically reduced the spiritual cost of her devastating spells. She condemned their cowardice and lack of honor. As she spoke, her mystical horse-face skirt shimmered into view. It boosted her spiritual attacks by 30% and possessed self-repairing properties through energy absorption. Sensing the lethal energy gathering in her palm, Shui lunged for his blades. She mocked how the weak grovel while the strong become tyrants. Kaku snapped, launching a desperate strike. A lightning kick sent him flying before he could land a blow. Shui's mask finally shattered. He summoned the entire clan to surround her. They struck as one, a storm of steel descending upon her. She parried a bald warrior's blade with her sheath, countering with a skull-crushing kick. She cleaved the next foe in 2. Mid-stride, she snatched a thrown shuriken and buried her sword in the assassin's throat. As the body fell, they pressed their advantage to skewer her, while a hidden blade lunged from her blind spot. Sensing the trap, she unleashed a wall of lightning, blasting her attackers back simultaneously. She burst through the ceiling like a phantom. An enemy below was silenced before he could look up. Staying low, she severed one man's arm and decapitated the next. The floor ran red with her relentless advance. Terror gripped them. How could a single girl dismantle their formation? The smarter disciples stayed back, paralyzed by fear. Those cowards were wise. The fools in the fight actually believed numbers could stop the sect leader's chosen successor. Though an outsider without his bloodline, her mastery of the blade was unrivaled within the sect. Swordmaster Okawa Mena watched coldly, knowing only a master's intervention could halt her rampage. Nagano Nakayasu agreed, questioning why Mena was content to simply observe from the shadows. Mina refused to be cannon fodder. He waited, letting the others die while he watched for a weakness. His lethal quick draw demanded the perfect moment. Finally, amidst a field of corpses, Qianhui's strength began to fail. As she stumbled, Mina struck like a viper. She sensed the killing intent and turned just in time. A flash of steel drew blood. Mena grinned, pushing her back as Yin sensed her aura flickering. Seeing Qianhui falter, Yin urged him to act. He was surprised she cared for the girl's safety. He expected her to be bitter after being trapped in that formation, but she had escaped with ease. She feared he had abandoned them, but he revealed his true intention to support the fight. He manifested a radiant golden barrier, sealing the entire battlefield in an unbreakable cage. Yin was baffled. Why trap their own ally inside with the entire murderous Ying sect? He nearly let his secret slip, claiming he'd shoulder the burden himself. His faith in Qianhui was absolute. If she fell, he would intervene. Until then, he'd ensure not a single soul escaped his wrath. Total annihilation was the goal. Meanwhile, Mena stood over the bleeding Qianhui, gloating over his victory. To his horror, she rose, trembling but alive. She had parried his fatal strike by a hair's breadth. Luck wouldn't save her twice. As Mena charged, she activated her spirit object control. Debris swirled into the air, hurtling toward him. Mena sneered at what he thought were desperate tricks. With her blood boiling and power surging, she revealed the debris was merely a feint to force his hand. He blocked the strike, boasting that his speed could overcome any disadvantage. She unleashed the breaking blade technique. Her sword phased through his defense, carving through his flesh. The system pinged. She needed 5 successful strikes to master the blade of crushing momentum. This divine art consumed massive energy, but rendered all enemy blocks utterly useless. With her reserves dangerously low, she had to wait for her spirit core to stabilize. The remaining masters watched in shock as their comrade fell. Nakayasu noted her blade remained perfectly sharp. Yuyo stared, haunted by her effortless strike. How could a mere girl's cultivation have ascended so explosively? Once, Mina's lightning blade would have ended her instantly. Now, fearing her strength, he demanded a joint execution. Bravery wasn't the issue. He simply wanted the credit shared. Nakayasu agreed, stepping into the shadows to cover him. He unleashed the sky-rending slash. Chenny contorted to dodge, but Yuyo was already lunging at her exposed flank. Their steel clashed, but his raw power sent her hurtling. She smashed through the masonry, vanishing into the night. Her hands trembled from the massive blade's impact. Before she could recover, Yuyo lunged again, wearing a sickeningly arrogant smirk. Disarmed. Her weapon clattered away, but she instantly activated her spirit control, desperately summoning the blade back to her hand. But Yuyo struck before she could reclaim it. She blocked the steel with her bare spirit-infused hand, yet the crushing pressure was immense. A sudden, unexpected strike tore into her side. Yuyo laughed, mocking Nakayasu's ruthless desire to see the girl sliced in two. Nakayasu barked for the final killing blow. Death is only certain once the head falls. As Ken Hui lay bleeding, Yuyo swung for the execution. He stood frozen in pure shock. How was she rising again? Even her robes were mending themselves before his eyes. That fatal strike had nearly severed her in two, yet it vanished in a heartbeat. Could a mere condensation realm cultivator truly wield such divine healing arts? She beckoned her blade through spirit control once more. By now, the boiling blood damage had surged to 80%. As she closed in, Yuyo's instincts forced an involuntary step back. Panic-stricken, he launched a desperate counterstrike. He dismissed her impressive healing. It was pointless. Once he claimed her head, those arts would become utterly useless against his steel. Their blades collided in a shower of sparks. Nakayasu stood aghast. How could she fight after taking a lethal sky-ending slash? She parried his heavy blows with a single hand. Realizing her power was evolving mid-clash, he knew he had to strike now. He unleashed a barrage of sky-rending slashes. Fearing the collateral damage, Yuyo cried out, "Are you trying to kill me too?" Nakayasu coldly promised his death would honor the sect, but Yuyo refused to be mere cannon fodder. He tried to flee, but she seized him as a living shield. Blood sprayed everywhere as the explosion tore through him. When the smoke cleared, she had vanished. Suddenly he sensed her presence behind him and swung, but she evaded with fluid grace. Reclaiming her spiritual energy from the earth, she unleashed the blade of crushing momentum. He barely managed to intercept the strike. Though confident in his mastery, his eyes widened as her blade sliced through his sword like paper. In a heartbeat, he was cleaved in two. Her breaking blade technique progress stood at 5 out of 2. Chion sensed a presence behind her as clapping hands echoed. A man, her self-proclaimed father, looked on with twisted pride. It was Ryugasaki Shoichi. His very existence turned Qianwei's stomach. In a flash of steel, she lunged at him, her voice dripping with pure disgust. He parried her strike effortlessly before launching a lethal blade. She arched her body backward, narrowly avoiding death as the steel whistled past her face. Multiple blades levitated around him like hungry spirits. He boasted about stealing her clan's sacred iron wall technique before slaughtering every last one of them. Now, he stood as the sole master of that stolen power. Qian mocked his hideous ear-to-ear grin, but the monster only laughed harder at her spite. Eyes burning with fury, she vowed to carve his skull open right along that smirk. She promised him a perfectly clean execution to match his grin. She blurred into motion. His blades danced in unison, forming an impenetrable barrier. Despite her relentless onslaught, his rotating steel shield held firm against her. The rotating blades whipped into a frenzy, shredding her skin and drawing blood from all sides. His automatic defense consumed almost no spiritual energy. Confident in his invincibility, he mocked her struggle, warning that her own fury would only hasten her death. He waited to see how long she could endure. Suddenly, she unleashed the breaking blade technique, shattering his defense and closing the distance in a heartbeat. He caught her sword with his own steel. The system chimed as her breaking blade progress reached 5 out of 3. To him, her strike was a fluke. He claimed to have analyzed her every move, boasting that her patterns were now fully exposed to him. His blades surged forward, tearing through her flesh. She collapsed into a crimson pool, unmoving. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure watched the tragedy unfold through a teacup. The cat warned the divine dragon that their host's life was fading fast. Looking down, they saw her battered face drenched in a river of gore. She dismissed their concern, calling the carnage a mere scratch. The cat watched in horror as lifeblood continued to erupt from her shattered body. He scoffed at her definition of a mere scratch. Though she was merely using the girl's body, this level of self-destruction was utterly insane. He knew she was plotting a deadly counter. She simply called it a trade secret. Back on the battlefield, Shuichi gasped as Qianwei rose again. Mocking his shock, she told him to keep smiling. Enraged, he prepared to shred her. Suddenly, the system announced that boiling blood had finally activated. Damage output surged to 170%. With overwhelming power gathered in her blade, she launched a final, desperate charge. She dove through his defenses, but he barely intercepted her blade. As he counterattacked, she swung with precision, striking him directly across his mocking jaw. True to her word, she carved right through his hideous grin. Using a dual breaking blade strike, she sent half his skull flying into the air. The breaking blade mission was finally complete, reaching 5 out of 5. She stood silent, watching his lifeless corpse crumble to the earth. Cowering in the shadows, the son of Shoei Ryugasaki Kaku witnessed the unthinkable. He'd always believed his father's iron wall blade was a flawless, impenetrable fortress until that legend was shattered before his very eyes. Despite his position, he tasted bitter defeat. Wasting no time on regret, the self-proclaimed sect leader beat a hasty retreat. His plan? Rally the main Ying sect's might and return for a bloody massacre. Her name mattered little. She was marked for death. Living to fight another day was his mantra, until fate intervened. He stepped right into a hidden, lethal annihilation array. A scorching inferno consumed him. As the estate crumbled in flames, Xian's vengeance was complete. Amidst the embers, Hai appeared, offering praise. 30% of the spoils flowed to Hai. Meanwhile, Xian's power surged, shattering the barrier to reach the 9th cultivation layer. She attained the condensation realm. Hai, having reached his peak, stood at the precipice of the legendary Golden Core realm. Xian noticed her mystic robes failed to mend. Hai explained her spiritual reserves were simply too depleted to trigger the auto-repair. To aid her growth, he granted shop access. Grateful, she browsed the divine inventory and selected a fresh, formidable look. Though the stats were perfect, the 500,000 yuan price tag was a debt she couldn't currently settle. He waved it off. Before the flames took the Ryugasaki manor, he'd already looted their treasures to cover her tab. Chills ran down his spine as a killing intent flared. Yin was livid, sensing favoritism toward her junior disciple's sister. Jealousy burned, she wanted rewards too. To soothe her, he opened her credit line, offering a choice of divine upgrades. Levels, gear, or skills, she demanded everything. Instantly, the system heralded the evolution of her dual feather greatsword. A system interface materialized before her. To claim these boons, she had 7 days to complete a high-stakes debt mission. One click would spirit her away to a secret realm. Hai watched in disbelief. She was ditching the school's mock exams. Academic trials meant nothing to her. Her eyes were fixed on one goal: ultimate ascension, no matter the cost. Vanishing into thin air, she left Hai impressed by her audacity. With their immediate goals met, he let her go. The Aping summoned them for their exam permits. Their instructor frowned, demanding an explanation for their tardy arrival. Hai blamed intense cramming for their memory lapse. So, he asked, where exactly is this examination hall? The teacher pointed to a mystic seal on the ticket. Channeling spiritual energy would instantly warp him to the battlefield. High-tech magic. Chen Yan noted that Hai's reputation had exploded following his legendary performance in the previous trial. He'd crushed the competition, seizing the school's #1 spot. Ever humble, Hai simply attributed his dominance to pure luck. This wasn't local. 10 elite schools were competing. She warned him that he'd face ruthless prodigies in this brutal clash. Caution was key. Xian asked if they'd be allies, but Hai didn't know the rift locations were entirely randomized. With a nod to safety, they parted. As the card glowed, Hai was transported into the heart of a vast forest. This was the giant wood forest. Though he'd studied it, the towering ancient trees were far more massive than described. A monitoring drone signaled the exam start. Nearby, a looming shadow fell over a terrified student, signaling imminent danger. A 5th-layer spirit-guiding bear lunged with predatory hunger. The student met its charge with a single, bone-shattering counterpunch. The beast crashed down. Elsewhere, Li Junhao of School 6 was busy turning another bear fiend into his personal punching bag. His cheerleaders swooned. Junhao boasted that these pathetic monsters were merely a warm-up for the true challenges ahead. He blamed his past loss to Hai on mere carelessness. Suddenly, a heavy pressure signaled a 6th-layer condensation realm beast. Its eyes burned with feral bloodlust, its body mapped with scars. This beast was a survivor of 1,000 battles. Its aura rivaled the mushroom fiend's terror. As his fans cowered, they marveled at Junhao's courage against such a monster. Secretly, his legs were jelly. Paralyzed by past trauma, he realized his PTSD was far worse than he'd ever admitted. Unexpectedly, the apex predator fled in terror. Confusion struck Junhao until he saw Hai streak past like a lightning bolt. The sonic boom nearly knocked Junhao over. Unbelievable. Hai was actually enjoying the hunt, treating the deadly bear like prey. Our hero was having too much fun. Nearby, a hollowed-out tree stood as a grim testament to a violent struggle. Junhao spotted something in the brush that drained the color from his face. A literal mountain of slaughtered fiend corpses. A dozen elite condensation realm beasts lay dead. Hai had erased them like they were nothing more than bothersome insects. His rivalry felt like a joke now. Suddenly, A mana projection flickered to life, announcing the start of the second phase. Prepare for battle. Only 172 warriors remained standing in this cutthroat elimination game. Zhong Jishi and Hin led the pack with 200 points each. The leaderboard was a sea of elite names. Yu Ping held third with 198 points, while Hua Qiangqian trailed closely with 186. Modin rounded out the top 5. Yu Ping scoffed at the massive dropout rate, disgusted by the weakness of his peers. Only the elite top 10 were chosen for this. To Yu Ping, those who failed were a disgrace to their titles. He sought the beautiful Qian Hui's favor, but she offered only a cold shoulder before vanishing into the canopy. With a ground-shaking tremor, he surged after her. During the first trial, her raw talent was undeniable. Seizing the moment, he extended an invitation for her to join his prestigious family sect. Desperate to claim such a prodigy as his disciple, he vowed to mentor her once he attained rank. Meanwhile, a relentless stalker continued poaching her kills. Her patience was wearing thin. Just then, the second phase commenced, hiding lethal armor-piercing bear claws throughout the treacherous battlefield. The objective was clear. Secure 10 claws to forge a legendary armor-piercing spear, their only hope against the terrifying boss fiend. Perched high above, a lone warrior scoffed at their struggles, eyeing the boss at the mountain's peak. Igniting his wind-stepping technique, he took flight. Meet Mo Dun, the reigning champion of number 7 middle school. A generational prodigy of the Mo clan, he mastered wind riding long before reaching the Golden Core realm. Brimming with arrogance, he bypassed the spear entirely, diving straight toward the 10th layer condensation realm Black Bear. Expecting a challenge, he found only an equal. Channeling his stone-shattering astral wind, he ensnared the beast within a violent, howling vortex. The cyclone intensified, its razor-sharp currents carving into the mountain's summit with terrifying, destructive force. Yu Ping watched in disbelief as Mo Dun dominated the trial. But just as victory seemed certain, a crushing aura forced the genius into a desperate retreat. The beast lunged, completely unscathed by the previous assault. Mo Dun's wind wall shattered like glass as the bear's raw power sent him reeling. Plunging toward the earth, a mid-air explosion hammered him into the tree line. He hit the forest floor, broken and bleeding. The apex predator pursued its prey. Yu Ping cursed the fool for ignoring the rules and leading the boss right into their midst. Miraculously, the beast held its fury. The vital armor-piercing claws were ripe for the taking, but only if they could slay the titan. The trial's logic was brutal. As the bear flashed its lethal talons, Yu Ping recalled that rare elite fiends also carried the required loot. It was a gamble, but searching for elite prey was his only shot. Suddenly, a massive bear loomed over him, its claws ready to strike. The beast's strike carved a crescent into the wood, but a sudden counterblow pierced its chest, sending a spray of crimson into the air. Yu Ping's lethal water ray had found its mark. He knelt by the carcass, praying this elite specimen held the precious armor-piercing claw. These treasures were elusive. After a dozen bloody encounters, he finally secured one just as a shadow descended from the canopy. He stared in shock at the girl he'd been pursuing. To his amazement, Qian Hui had already harvested 3 claws of her own. Refusing to be outshone, Yu Ping unleashed a frantic water gun barrage. Meanwhile, Chen Ye surveyed the chaos from a high cliffside. Qian Hui appeared, reporting a haul of 6 claws. With a rare moment of kindness, she offered to share her spoils with him. He declined with a smirk. Activating his advanced pay system, he summoned the armor-piercing spear, leaving her breathless with wonder. A celestial polearm crackling with energy manifested in his grip. Elsewhere, a triple stream of high-pressure water pierced a bear's vital points. As the beast fell, Yu Ping claimed his 9th prize. Victory was within reach. He needed only one final claw to succeed. The rankings flickered to life. Yu Ping held the lead, while Chen Ye and Qian Hui languished at the bottom of the scoreboard. Yu Ping scoffed, convinced the rumors about Chen Ye were nothing but empty hype. To him, the supposed genius looked completely washed up. Determination burned in his eyes he would conquer this exam. But then a system alert blared. Chen Ye had successfully synthesized the spear. Qian Hui marveled at her master's mysterious power. Nearby, Chen Ye eyed the fallen Mo family genius, realizing his wind magic could be utilized. Finding no legal restrictions within the system's database, he prepared to replicate the technique through his unique advanced payment ability. With a flicker of energy, the wind control skill was his. The true battle for points now centered on who could inflict the most damage on the boss. His strategy was simple. He would grind the boss's health to its limit, allowing Qian Hui to swoop in for the final, high-scoring kill. It was a perfect plan for maximum points. With a nod of agreement, Chen Ye stepped off the precipice, diving into the abyss. Falling through the sky, he locked eyes with the massive fiend. The beast roared, unleashing a localized hurricane to intercept its airborne intruder. Closing the distance, he braced his legs for impact. Like a falling star, he plummeted toward the earth, wreathed in a blinding heavenly light. His landing sent shockwaves through the clearing, staggering the beast. Without missing a beat, he swung his spear, triggering a cataclysmic explosion. Blinding debris filled the air, masking the battlefield. Suddenly, a flash of steel cut through the smog, burying itself deep in the monster's chest. The bear caught the blade in its massive paws, but Chen Ye only grinned. He unleashed the dark nether lightning art directly through the shaft. Bolts of shadowy electricity surged into the fiend, paralyzing its massive frame. Moving like a ghost, Chen Ye activated his wind-treading stride. With explosive velocity, he drove the spear deeper, forcing the giant backward. Watching from afar, Yu Ping seethed with rage as his kill was snatched away. Mo Dun finally stirred from his forced slumber, his head throbbing. He couldn't believe a mere beast had managed to render him unconscious. He awoke to a landscape of total carnage. Before his eyes, the boss fiend was being systematically dismantled by the newcomer, Chen Ye. His spear became a blur of lethal precision, creating a localized storm of steel that shredded the bear's hide with every devastating rotation. With absolute focus, his final strike punched through the beast and shattered a massive tree behind it. As the timber crashed down, the onslaught finally ended. Compressed to survive, the beast endured. Yu Ping realized it traded bulk for lethal agility. Yu Ping waited for a failure to seize the prize. Instead, Hei struck with unerring precision. Despite its size, the beast bled from Hei's spear. Its desperate counter met Hei's iron defense. Deflecting with his spear, Hei felt the beast's insane, chi-condensed power. Localized chi armor. Hei realized the beast lacked the energy for full-body protection. Layered defenses appeared. Now the high passing rate made perfect sense to him. No guarantees here. Hei retreated, then spun into a lethal, spiraling counter-thrust. Terrified, the bear conjured a golden shield. Hei instantly unleashed his advanced piercing strike. Steel tore through its throat. The impact sent the beast flying, pinned to stone. Controlling the health bar was taxing. Enough remained for Chen Hui to deliver the end. Modun ambushed them from the shadows. He unleashed a treacherous wind blade to steal the glory. A scream echoed. Dust cleared to reveal Chen Hui whisking the prize skyward. With a wind demon slash, she ended it. Her dual element mastery left onlookers utterly stunned. Modun's pride burned. To him, commoners were unworthy of the Mo family's sacred arts. He barked accusations of theft. In his mind, that kill credit belonged solely to him. Chen Hui mocked his pathetic nap. Her words fueled his volcanic, ego-driven rage. To Modun, they were bottom-tier trash. Two nobodies from a lowly, sectless high school. With no backers, he chose murder. The examiners wouldn't mourn two nameless novices. His disgusting sneer triggered a memory. To Chen Hui, he looked like a hated nemesis. Her execution line flared. Only Hei's warning stopped her from painting the hall red. Modun laughed at her threat. He deployed an absolute windshield, fortified by magic. Impossible! Chen Hui flickered through his barrier like a ghost. Terror gripped Modun's heart. Stunned and gasping, Modun felt Chen Hui's blade hilt crush his stomach. He plummeted into the forest. Hei admitted his partner's cold ferocity truly terrified him. She used the blunt edge. Invigilators were watching, and killing would only cause trouble. With the execution line mastered, the mock exam finally drew to a dramatic close. Hei took first place. However, Chen Hui was still 4 armor-piercing claws short. Hei prepared to fight more. But Yu Ping stepped forward with a wide, friendly grin. Hei hesitated. These were top-tier materials. Why would Yu Ping give them away so easily? Rankings were everything. Since they dominated the boards, his wealthy family needed nothing. A private talk? Hei's skin crawled, quickly declaring his preference for the opposite sex. System alert. 10 out of 10 claws collected. The legendary spear's materials were finally gathered. Outside, Yu Ping recognized their genius. He spoke of the ultimate goal joining a great sect. A rare chance. He offered a shortcut, saving 50 years of grueling cultivation. He was the body-forging sect's successor, one of the 10 legendary powers of this era. With a royal invitation, he asked them to reach the peak of power together. Hei declined. He revealed they already had a sect, and Chen Hui was his disciple. She confirmed it. Yu Ping's grand speech crumbled. He demanded to know their sect's name. Hei broke into a sweat. He had forgotten to actually register the sect name. Yu Ping's laughter echoed for miles. Humiliated, Hei rushed to the office to fix it. A broken Modun watched the feed. His injuries only fueled a burning desire for vengeance. Inside the hall, Hei headed for Gate 7. Every other cultivator seemed to have papers ready. The clerk looked up. Hei stated his intent to register a brand new sect. Hei Xin. The name turned the clerk pale. He stammered, asking for a recommendation letter. No letter, no golden core rank. The clerk dismissed him as another delusional novice. Unaware of the stakes, he learned that only a sect leader could enter the forbidden secret realm. To earn the official certificate, Hei demanded the stubborn clerk process his registration immediately. He sought leadership status to qualify for the trial, but the clerk remained cold and unyielding. Trial first, registration later. Hai's fury boiled, leaving the trembling clerk internally terrified. A sigh of relief escaped him. Even at the 10th layer condensation realm, Hai's aura was overwhelming. Why fear a commoner? Sneered his cousin Modun, dismissing Hai's raw power as irrelevant. Modun bragged about defeating the 10th layer genius during exams, yet the clerk remained deeply skeptical. Modun's neck brace and shattered arm told the real story. Still, the clerk offered a hollow thumbs up. He played along, noting that while standard rules usually let applicants through, he had a more sinister plan. Usually, candidates receive a temporary certificate to attempt the trial before facing the final review committee. But he rigged the system just to crush Hai's dreams. Modun's grin widened at the calculated cruelty. Hai was walking into a trap. This office was Modun's territory. Crossing him meant a descent into living hell. Under the moon's glow, Hai questioned Chenny about the requirements to ascend toward the legendary Golden Core realm. He met the cultivation rank, but now required 2 myths, the blazing flame mushroom and the chillbone herb. These rare treasures only bloomed in forbidden realms. Hai scoured the web, hunting for the ultimate challenge site. He aimed for efficiency, a single trial to claim both herbs. Finally, a perfect secret realm appeared. Both herbs were confirmed there, but it sat on rival land. To enter, he would need a formidable party. Chenny noted the strict entry terms. They desperately needed one verified sect leader who had conquered the trial. As the group grew restless, Hai finally arrived. Chi-Hong stared at him, her eyes widening in sheer disbelief. She suspected Su Jiang had recruited a mere student. Beside her, Vice Leader Yu Bing watched in chilling silence. "Did you even read the post?" they sneered. Hai nodded calmly as they flashed a gold-engraved leader token. Only true leaders could enter. Thinking he was bluffing, they mocked him, but Hai simply smirked in response. A high schooler as a sect leader? Impossible. Then, Hai revealed the gleaming official token of authority. The pristine, freshly forged token left Jian speechless. Shaken, he finally signaled for the party to advance. A rift tore through the solid stone. As they entered, Hai realized an ancient incantation guarded this path. Such sacred lands were sect lifebloods. Hai wondered aloud if a student-led sect was truly that unprecedented. Jian admitted the golden age had passed. Once, even condensation realm cultivators like the Ying sect could qualify. Ryugasaki Sho rose with minimal power back then. Now, the cutthroat competition has reached an absolute fever pitch. The bar was raised high. Only Golden Core Masters or those with elite recommendation letters can now apply. It is the ultimate loophole. After all, a high schooler reaching the Golden Core realm is pure fantasy. Jian suspected powerful backers were pulling Hai's strings. Our protagonist merely chuckled, keeping his secrets hidden. Chi-Hong demanded victory for her trial. Jian vowed his blade would ensure her ascent to leadership. Bing boasted of their combined might. Hai realized he was being treated like dead weight in a carry. The math was clear. A 3-man zone. Yet they dragged him along. He was being used as insurance. Acting as their third wheel, Hai focused on his system quests. First, secure the debt for his token. His letter and the Fiend King's corpse sat at 10%. Next, the heavy price for his future power. At the 10th layer condensation realm, he only needed the 2 mythical herbs to complete his grand evolution. Finally, wind control. He had 10% mantra comprehension and 30% mastery. The storm awaited. The system chimed. His golden core advancement was locked in. Now he could finally command his loyal disciple. He tasked Chenny with her wind training while Chi-Hong whispered suspicious questions about the outsider to Jian. Dismissing Hai as a fool, Jian switched to a private telepathic link to plot with his comrades. He is just cannon fodder, Jian sneered mentally. Soon, they arrived at a junction where 3 paths diverged. Chi-Hong frowned. Why did Bing look confused? He claimed to have conquered this treacherous terrain once before. Bing explained the ruins' shifting nature. Expanding his divine sense, he probed the darkness for the safest route. He shoved Hai toward the middle path, feigning kindness, while hiding a calculated, more sinister objective. Bing, Jen, and Chi-Hong chose another route. Chi-Hong wondered just how much more brutal Hai's path truly was. Jen warned that the gap was massive. He sensed terrifying auras unlike anything lurking on the middle trail. Countless lethal fiends swarmed there. Jen mocked Hai, assuming his sect leader token was merely a gift from connections. Labeling him a complete novice, they believed he'd never survived such a lethal life-or-death crisis before. They pictured him trembling in fear, yet Hai walked calmly until a lethal arrow whistled through the air. He batted the projectile aside, tracking the source. Then, he unleashed the devastating skybreaking palm technique. The blow pulverized the wall, exposing a Shadowstalker archer sliced cleanly in 2 by the sheer force. A 5th-layer condensation realm fiend, neutralized. Hai noted its impressive ability to vanish from sight. Its stealth nearly caught him off guard. Luckily, he had already ascended to the legendary Golden Core realm. His sharpened senses caught another incoming projectile. Instantly, He launched a counter-strike toward the hidden shooter. A gale force strike tore the fiend asunder. Silence fell until a shadow burst from the earth, targeting his legs. He parried the blade effortlessly. Did it truly believe he'd miss a threat at point-blank range? He drove his spear home. Pinning it down, he shredded the creature into ribbons. Suddenly, he sensed another presence ahead and lunged forward. The strike met air, so he spun his weapon in a blurring whirlwind, becoming a vortex of cold steel. The steel bit deep, decapitating the hidden monsters. Their remains disintegrated, scattering like dust in the howling wind. Another volley struck from behind. Hai deflected them with a flick, his patience wearing thin at these endless ambushes. Enraged by their cowardly tactics, he slammed his power down, causing the very earth to fracture and scream. A cyclone erupted, engulfing the battlefield. Yet, the persistent shadow fiends managed to anchor themselves against the gale. Seeing no real harm from the storm, the fiends grew arrogant, foolishly underestimating the young cultivator's true intent. The wind was merely a shroud. Hai flickered behind them instantly. Before they could fire, he struck again. A massive palm of energy crushed the first fiend. As snipers behind pillars fired, Hai's spear became an impenetrable shield. From the darkness, a paper effigy watched a sinister spy Jen used to monitor Hai's every move. Chi-Hung sneered, asking if their cannon fodder was dead yet. They intended to use Hai to spring all the traps. They hoped to learn from his struggle, but Hai was dominating. Frustrated, Jen signaled Bing to change their scheme. Abandoning the Fiend King, they chose to lure it toward Hai instead. Bing's axe flew, wreathed in roaring flames. The explosive roar drew Hai's gaze. He surely realized by now that his allies were leading him into a trap. Catch the next epic saga right here. Smash that like button, join our Sect membership, and stay legendary, everyone.